Welcome to Dead Pets, the podcast about pet grief that celebrates the lives of the creatures who have changed ours. To everyone who has been listening and sharing dead pets with your friends, thank you so much. We are growing, and it's really exciting for me to see this project that is so special to me is resonating with other people in the way that I hoped it would. We have a brand new website up at www.deadpetspodcast.com. It's looking really good. And there you can find our episode archives, more information about the podcast, and you can sign up for the upcoming Dead Pets newsletter, which is a place where I will be sharing thoughts and reflections and revelations from all the conversations I get to have with people about their beloved pets, about their lives, and about their deaths. I will also be sharing my own grief journey, mourning the loss of my 19-year-old cat, Dodge. If you sign up for the Dead Pets newsletter, you'll get access to all of this. You will also get 30% off Dead Pets merch, which will be coming later this year. If you haven't already, don't forget to follow Dead Pets on TikTok. There you can find videos of some of the pets that we have featured. I'm working on other content like ways that you can memorialize your pet, information on the stages of grief, and reviews on books about pet grief. On today's episode, Wendy tells us about a very special dog named Trix.
Trixie the Wonder Poodle, my beloved, I used to call her an escaped circus poodle that I adopted, and I lost her 16 years ago. I didn't lose her, like she didn't run away. I lost her. And it's so odd how over these years, all these dogs have come my way, and I even worked on a TV show that was on Hallmark Channel. And every day they would do pet adoptions, and they would bring pets in. They'd be like, what about this one? What about this one? And there were these just lovely rescue dogs and even a couple of poodles, which is what I want. And it's like, I'm so brokenhearted over this dog that it's been 16 years, and I still have not been able to get another dog. There's a proverb that has been attributed to a Chinese philosopher. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. And I'm thinking maybe when the human is ready, the dog appears. Maybe I'm just not ready. We were living in Chicago, and so I lost my dog. I had a Maltese that was also 16 years old that I had from when she was a baby. And so I'd had that dog basically half my life. I got her when I was 16. And when she passed, it was, of course, devastating. And I remember just coming home from work and just hoping that she just passed on. And she didn't. And near the end, she was just very sick. And so I had to take her to the vet. And the vet was like, look, this is a really tough decision, but her quality of life is not there. And we support whatever you want to do. And I made the very difficult decision. And I was very sad after having her. And then we moved to Los Angeles. And I'd been here for about 4 years, and I decided I was ready for another dog. And I wanted a hypoallergenic dog, and I wanted a poodle because I've always loved poodles. And I didn't have any kids or anything. It was just my husband and me, and we were both working a lot. But it wasn't hectic. It wasn't crazy. I really wanted a dog, and I wanted a rescue dog, but I also wanted a poodle. And it's like, I want a used dog, but I'm also very particular about what I want. And oftentimes, if you go to the shelter, you get what you get, and there's some amazing dogs there, but I was being very finicky about what I wanted. I guess I was being a poodle myself about things. And there's this woman who used to run Beverly Hills Poodle Rescue. She was like an old-timey character actress on sitcoms in the 60s. And then she married this zillionaire and started Beverly Hills Poodle Rescue. And she had an ad, and I kept answering it. She'd ask me all these questions like, do you have any children? What's your backyard like? But she didn't want to give me a dog. And it was frustrating. And so finally, she agreed to let me adopt a dog, right? And you had to park around the corner from her house in Beverly Hills, and you had to walk up the driveway as discreetly as possible because she didn't want her neighbors to know that she was running this poodle rescue in this giant mansion. And I said, I want an apricot female poodle. And so I got to her house, and my mother and my friend came with me. And I rang the doorbell, and she opened the door, and 7 apricot poodles came running out into the driveway. And they were all crazy, and they were all acting, jumping around, and just frolicking and being super cute and fun. And I'm looking at them, and there's like that connection isn't happening. That moment when you're like, that's my person, that's my dog person, right? And then I looked down and there was this really tall, kind of thin poodle hiding behind her. And I said, "What's up with that dog?" And she said, "Oh, she's just very shy." And I said, "Oh, can I pick her up?" And she said, "Sure." So I grabbed the dog and I put her on my lap, and the other dogs are just creating chaos. And my mom and my friend are just having a blast playing with all the poodles. And I'm just sitting there with this really shy, weirdo poodle sitting on my lap. And I'll never forget this moment. Like a bug flies by, like a gnat. And this dog is sitting on my lap. And all of a sudden, the dog reaches up, grabs the bug out of the air, and follows the bug. And I was like, "Oh, this dog's magical. Oh my God, I'm taking this dog." By the way, she never did that again. I saw that she had these, like, I don't know, crazy, weird abilities. I'd never seen a dog do that in my life. I've had lots of pets. I grew up in a house full of pets. I've had dogs and cats and everything. But I had to have the dog that grabbed the bug. And I got her home, and she was very much a Velcro dog. Honestly, I don't know how old she was when I got her. She could have been 1. She could have been, or she could have been 4. Who knows? She only weighed about 9 pounds. She was a small miniature and just a little too tall to be a toy. There was nothing puppy-like about her. She was a grown woman. She was a grown lady. No nibbling on anything. There was no craziness. She would play, but she mostly just wanted to hang out. She wasn't at all food motivated. She was like a supermodel. Like all she wanted was like Diet Coke and cigarettes. Just very tall and thin. She was like a supermodel of dogs. It was a very interesting dog, and I'd never had a dog like her. You know, when you adopt a dog, you don't know where they came from, right? It's like it's a secret, and you're like a detective sort of trying to figure out what is in this dog's past. She didn't like my husband at all. And so I assumed maybe she had been abused or something because the rescue found her in a shelter in a really rough part of town. She was a purebred poodle that was found at the shelter in Downey, which is not exactly where you would imagine a lot of poodles are roaming the streets. Okay, so she doesn't like my husband, so maybe it's because she was mistreated by a man. But then my husband's best friend would come over, who was also a man and actually bigger and scarier, and she loved him. So I think maybe she just didn't love anyone who might be a threat to her. She was immediately hilarious and fun, and I took her to my friend's house, and we're standing there in the kitchen, and all of a sudden, she's a miniature poodle, all of a sudden she jumped on the kitchen counter. And I'm like a cat. It's crazy. And I'm like, what? And this dog had mad hops. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to teach her circus tricks. I'm not a circus trick teacher, but I thought, this dog's a genius. And so I leaned up against the wall and I said, up, up, and I got her to jump into my arms. And then I just kept standing higher and higher to the point where I could just be standing completely straight up and go, up, and the dog would just jump into my arms. We went to Vegas to visit family, and I had to go inside and put on my bathing suit, and my father-in-law was in the pool, and so he called the dog over. He's like, "Hey, Trix, come over here." She jumped in the pool, and then I got a hula hoop, and I taught the dog to jump through the hula hoop. And I used to tell people she was an escaped circus poodle because I taught her all these ridiculous jumping tricks. And in working with her, I guess I started to find out things about her, like what made her feel more confident, what made her feel more safe, and just like she needed to be next to me. And I was more than happy to oblige. She was a real weirdo, and I'm just so grateful that she picked me. I was so madly in love with her that I always wanted to buy her silly stuff, and she definitely added a fun layer of mystery to the house because, like I said, I never knew what her story was, so I was always just trying to piece it together like some sort of dog detective. She added an anchor, I think, to my life. When you know that your pets are at home, it's like you just can't wait to get back with them. And so I have a tendency to be a workaholic, and knowing that she was home was really healthy for me because I just couldn't wait to get back home and cuddle with her and play with her and spend time with her. So she added a real nice layer of stability and an anchor for me that I really needed at the time. And we got pregnant during that time, and I had 3 miscarriages. And I was like, ugh, maybe this isn't going to happen. And then I got pregnant and I went to a doctor and I found out that it was like a thyroid issue and I stayed pregnant. And then I was like, okay, now I'm going to have a dog and a baby. And people do this all the time. That's fine. But The dog was not really into the baby. We did all the things where it's like we brought home the little hat from when she was born so Trix could smell the hat and know that there was something coming and all this other stuff, but it was a little bit of a détente situation. First of all, Trix didn't like my husband, and now there's another person who's vying for my attention, and so she wasn't so into that either. When the baby was really little, and there's this moment where I'm sleeping with the dog and the baby, and they're just both cuddled up next to me, and my husband came in with the camera. He has it on video, and he's like, oh, there's my girl, and there's my girls, and there's my girls. It's like all of us just cuddled together, and I decorated the nursery with this little poodle mobile made by a friend, and there was poodle stuff everywhere, and a lot of vintage, cute, kitschy poodle stuff. And then I had a kid who doesn't like dogs. So there's nothing I can do about it. She's just not a dog person. And maybe I was just trying to indoctrinate her. I don't know. So Trixie did not like the baby. My daughter, the baby didn't have an opinion, but later my daughter doesn't really like dogs. And so it was just me and Trix against the world, basically. It was crazy, but everybody found a way to get along. It's kind of when you introduce another pet, maybe they're not pals. Everybody finds a way to get along, and so everybody found a way to get along. She was in family pictures, and we're all together, but I don't think that anyone really was into the dog except me. And in all fairness, I don't think the dog was into anyone but me either. She wasn't like a golden retriever. They don't meet anyone except a friend. And so it's just so wonderful. But poodles, I really wonder if poodles are like the cats of dogs. Obviously, there's exceptions to every rule, but she's aloof and just kind of like not interested in the group. She just wanted to be sitting right over here and next to me and hanging out and maybe learning some silly tricks. After I taught her to jump through the hoop, and I'm really kind of like Little Miss Crafty, so I made like some paper flames to hang from the hoop. I was like, she's jumping through a flaming hoop, everybody, and people were just laughing about it. I taught her this trick, and I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, I don't even know how I did this, but I taught her this trick where I would put my two hands behind my back, she'd be sitting facing me, and I'd say, okay, this hand is, my right hand is, my left hand is no. And so I would ask a question and then quickly put my hands in front, and she would tap one of the hands. And so I used to say that she has her trick of using psychic powers, and it was this really fun party game. I'm from Illinois. I said, the Cubs going to win the World Series? And I put the two hands out, and she would tap the no hand. And I'd be like, of course, that's such an easy question. But so it was just a really fun way, and she was just down to go for it every time. And it was this crazy psychic powers trick that I taught the dog, and I don't even know how we did it. We just had this crazy connection. And the odd part is she was kind of right. She had psychic powers, and I couldn't figure it out. It's weird. For an aloof dog that didn't want to be around people, she really kind of did like to entertain. I had this neighbor, and that's the best part about having dogs, is you meet your neighbors and you know all their dogs, and it's so fun. And I had this neighbor that was obsessed because whenever somebody, like a dog was coming or something I didn't know, I'd say, up, up, and she'd jump into my arms so I could hold on to her and protect her. And I had this neighbor who was obsessed with her, and he kept saying, up, and she would just look at him like, no. That's our thing, okay? You don't get to have my dog jump in your arms just because you say the top secret code word. All the neighbors knew her, and my friends used to laugh at the psychic powers trick. And the fact that she would be at a friend's pool and she would just be sitting on a float in the pool. It was just kind of stone cold maxing in the sun, floaty. I used to be a producer on the Wayne Brady Show. And I was a producer and a writer on his talk show. One day, he had this dog trainer on. And Wayne is a dog person. He had this really cute schnauzer. The dog trainer said, if anybody has a dog that they think I could teach something, please bring in your dogs and I'll evaluate it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, cool. And so I get to bring Trixie the Wonder Poodle to work. And dog trainers, they know things, right? And so Trix gets there and he instantly starts working with her, and she's just so smart and such a good listener that he instantly teaches her 2 or 3 tricks. And everyone else's dogs, they're creating mayhem and peeing on the floor or whatever. And Trixie's just standing there as if she's an actor. And the guy decides to pick my dog and Wayne's dog. You got to pick Wayne's dog to teach a whole bunch of tricks and things like that on camera, live in front of an audience. And I'm just, this is going to be interesting. My boss's dog and my dog, and okay. And the guy tried to teach both of them, and Trixie nailed it on camera, and Wayne's dog was kind of like, oh, whatever, and just walked away, and I'm like, my dog's famous and totally trainable, and it was on TV, and it made my boss's dog look like a goofburger, and I was just like, this is the greatest dog moment ever! It was really fun, because you just don't know. If you have kids who are in show business, you don't know if they're going to go ballistic and throw up on someone or whatever. And Trix was just like, next. First of all, I thought I was just some dog training genius, but it turns out I had a smart dog. So I was like literally giving myself, I could train anybody. No, I can't. I could train a smart dog, and poodles are just off the charts smart. Watching a real dog trainer, I was just trying to learn whatever I could, but it was really cool. That was one of the best moments ever with this dog, that she just absolutely crushed it. She was just like such a badass. But like many stars, super reclusive. She was not seeking attention, really. She was absolutely an introverted dog, like major. Literally, I had to pry her away from behind the lady when I even found her. So she was not looking for attention, but man, she knew how to keep it. That's for sure. I like underdogs. There's a bunch of rambunctious apricot poodles running around. It was fine, but I was looking for that one weirdo, that one dog that maybe other people wouldn't pick for whatever reason. She's a really special dog, and I think that's probably why 15 years later, I've not been able to get another dog, and I really want one. I look at them, and like I said, at Hallmark, every day they handed me like a new dog that needed a home. These cute dogs, and I was just like, I don't have that connection. I just don't have that. And I don't know what causes that, because I feel as if I'm ready for another dog and I can't make it happen. I don't know. So I'm just really sad. I had her for about 15 years. And then she just, for the last 2 years, was really having health problems. And for a dog that didn't really want to eat, we had to give her prescription food, and she just wanted the tiniest bit. She lost her hearing, she lost some sight, and then she just, near the end, was just kind of like walking in a circle and just would walk into the wall. And it was like one of these things where I knew I had to make a decision, and she hated going to the vet. It was like she hated it. And every time we'd go there, they'd say, yep, she's old, that'll be $700. And you're like, oh, great. And when it came time to make that decision, somebody said to me, there's someone that'll come to your house and you can make like a whole ceremony. And I thought, good, because I'm not going to take her to the place that she hates most for the last moment of her life. I wouldn't do that to her. And so I found this person, this vet, who came to the house, and he said, if you want to play music, if you want to have a ceremony. And it was just awful, but the best version of awful that I could come up with. And it was time. She literally would not drink. I brought her some sliced turkey, her favorite thing in the world, and she didn't want anything. And then she just kept just walking in circles and walking into the wall. And it was like, okay, it's time. It's just so awful. It's so hard. I know I'm not unique, but there's just something really heartbreaking about it, because you just keep questioning yourself over and over. Is this the right time? Is this the right time? Am I doing the right thing? It's so devastating. And especially when you have that connection with an animal, it's really difficult. We did the best thing that we could. So I was really devastated. And I'm a producer by trade. I was a TV producer, and every detail of everything would be completely planned out. And that is my job. And I'm a little ashamed to admit that I couldn't get it together. I had her bed, and I had the doctor, and he said, is there some music you want to play? I planned massive TV shows. But for some reason, when it came to this ceremony and my dog, I didn't have anything together, because I couldn't. It was like all of my thoughts were just on, I'm about to lose my dog. And so I can't be like, oh, I want to play this song by Earth, Wind, and Fire. I didn't have a ceremony. And because it was just too much for me even to orchestrate getting it done. and having this very lovely man come to the house and take care of her. And they do one shot and then they do another shot, and you're holding the dog, and it's so much. And I wish I had a great story about some super groovy ceremony with circus tricks or whatever. But I did nothing. I couldn't even pick a piece of music because I was so devastated. Grief takes up a lot of bandwidth, and it's like I wasn't able to do it at the time because I was just so sad and so devastated that I was not functioning. And to be honest, I do feel a little bit of shame about that, but this dog knew how much I loved her, and everybody else did. It was just my husband and me and her and the doctor. And so there was I didn't feel the need to be performative at the time. I didn't feel the need to have my shit together when the doctor's like, okay, what kind of music do you want to play? But I also know how low functioning I was. And so I'm going to give myself a lot of grace and just say I did the best that I could. And I did it the best way possible so as not to have her last moments at all upsetting. Because if I had to take her somewhere, it would have not been good for her. I didn't want her last moment on earth to be scared. And she was very comfortable because she was home, and I did the best I could. I definitely had her comfort in mind and did what I could. And the fact is, she was in a shelter and she was alone hiding behind a lady, and she adopted me, and we had a really great time together. I know that I was a good dog mom, and I know that we had a lot of fun together.
What was it like to live without her at first?
For the next few weeks, I kept seeing her jumping on my bed, which was weird. It was like ghost dogs. I'd be sitting there, and it's like my memory was so powerful of how she would jump on the sofa, where she would jump. And so I'd just sit in there and I would see it. And it was, honestly, that didn't help me. That actually made me sadder because it just reminded me she wasn't there. In the morning is like you're starting your day. So, we're going to go for a walk, and I got to take care of you. I'm going to feed you. We're going to play. It's like all the things where it's like your day begins with the dog. And when you wake up and that's missing, it was the worst because I didn't have any other pets. And so then it's like you walk in the house, and I was like, you go to the mailbox and you come back and your dog's like, where were you? Oh my God, I missed you so much. Like that love that dogs have, which is so overwhelming. I'd walk in the front door and be greeted by nothing or no one, or I'd pick up my keys and nobody would come running, or I'd hop in bed and nobody would jump up and lie next to me. It was awful. It was sad and it was quiet, and I kept thinking that I saw her or heard her. That just happens anyway after you lose somebody. It was very difficult. It was very difficult for a long time. And I still walk in the house sometimes and I think I see her, but it's some socks. I don't know. So that hasn't gone away. It's just gotten less and less over the years. It's still there, and it's still sad.
Where does Trix live around you now?
Sometimes I'll be cleaning out a drawer and I'll find her collar or her comb. Or a friend of mine made a tutu for her because she's a circus dog and she wouldn't wear it. I found her tutu the other day and I was like, oh my God, I don't want to get rid of any of it. So it's just scattered around. Every once in a while I get little memories, like a little comb or a little tutu or a dog bowl or something. That's Trix.
When you think of her now, what do you think of?
I think of the great relationship we had because we really got each other. And even though she was a Velcro dog, she wasn't needy. And there's a difference. She liked being by me, but she wasn't just, where are you going? This is why I'm actually surprised I don't have another dog, because I would think that I would have been ready so much faster. And I'm just not. And I live in a house and I've got a backyard, and my kid's off in college now, so nobody's around to give the dog side eye. And my husband was open to it. He's like, hey, you can have another dog if you want. It's just, I don't know. The human is not ready, so the dog has not appeared. I was walking the other day and this guy was carrying this red toy poodle, which is what I really want, a red toy poodle. And this guy had this poodle in this little sling that you would carry a baby in. And I saw that dog and I was like, I wonder how fast I can run if I steal this dog. This dog, there's something about this particular dog that awakened something in my heart where I was like, okay, that's what I want. I want a toy red poodle. Obviously, I did not steal the guy's dog, but it did help me narrow it down, and maybe Trix will swing by with a dog or something. I have so many friends who rescue dogs and just do wonderful work, and they're like, what if I just put a red poodle in your backyard? If it just shows up, is that the dog? And I'm like, no, I don't know what it is. I definitely have a handful of pictures around the house, and I also used to collect a lot of vintage retro poodle stuff, little kitschy things. I had this really cute metal poodle that just yesterday broke. I had little poodles around the house that I see, and that totally remind me of her, but I don't know if that's good for me to be reminded of her. You know what I mean? I don't know if I need to have visual reminders all over the house of my dog. I have photos, but I don't have a shrine or anything. I think that would just make me too sad. But every time I'm out and I see a poodle, I just kind of go like, oh, one day, one day. There are days when I go out and I'll see 10 red poodles. And I'm like, I'll turn to my husband and say, why does everyone get a red poodle but me? Literally, they're everywhere. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm looking for them, but I see them a lot, and I'm taking that as a good sign. So many people have asked me, why don't you have another dog? Why aren't you getting another dog? And there's so many amazing dogs that you could adopt and just go to the rescue. There's 200 dogs there. And I was like, no, I'm telling you, I have to find the dog. And oftentimes people aren't as weird as me, and they can just find a dog, and that dog can become the dog. I get that. That dog can become your dog. But for me, I'm a Pisces, I'm psychic. I just need to have that connection.
What did Trix teach you about this life?
Patience. Trix taught me patience. Trix taught me how to make myself more vulnerable, because I grew up with a lot of walls up, guarded, and when you have that much love for something, that is being very vulnerable. And so Trix made me open up my cold, dead heart and make some space in there for her. She definitely taught me that there's love and there's sadness, and you get both of them in life. And I guess you just kind of have to figure out how to work through both of them, because they're both jarring. They both can be very jarring. She also taught me that I could survive losing a dog for all intents and purposes. That's probably the biggest lesson I got from her, is knowing I could live without her. It's just a painful lesson to learn, but if you're going to be a dog mom or a cat mom or a dad, you're going to lose them. And knowing that you can survive that, or at least the best way you can, is very helpful. I do a 4-mile walk every day. It's my way to tap into gratitude. And as an artist, it's a great place for me to figure out problem solving. And I always do the same route every day. I've been doing this since 2020. Last year, I'd run into a friend on my walk and crossed over to the other side of the street. And on my way back, I was crossing a street and I got run over by a truck and sent flying. And I'm lying in the middle of this intersection, and I'm like, oh, and I had to be carried to the curb, a broken leg, shattered knee, horrible PTSD. It was absolutely grueling. And I got home after being in the hospital and being all the things, and I was just trying to figure out, how am I going to survive this? I couldn't walk. I couldn't take care of myself. But really, the PTSD was the most brutal part. If anybody just said something to me and I didn't know they were coming, I could just start crying. Anything on TV came towards the lens, I would just freak out. I was absolutely devastated. I create oracle decks and tarot decks and affirmation decks. And I remembered that I'd started writing a deck of love messages from dogs. And I put it down because I just got really busy on a bunch of different things. And nobody loves you more than your dog, right? Sometimes you forget how awesome you are. And there's no better hype person than your dog. And I started writing these messages of love and support from dogs. And I typed in the words, "You're not lost. You're just on a longer walk." And I was like, oh my God. I could just see Trixie, like literally giving me these affirmations, which I called affirmations because they're from dogs. And so I sorry to sound like a weirdo, but I literally channeled 65 love messages from Trixie, and I created this card deck of affirmations, messages of love and support from the one who loves you the most. And I felt Trixie the entire time I was writing these things. I couldn't be at my desk or anything, and I'm literally lying in bed where Trixie would lie next to me. I'm sitting there on my laptop typing, and I just kept looking over, like thinking, is she there? Like, where is this coming from? And I created this deck of affirmations, which is now in my store. I go to craft fairs or events, and people pick up a deck, and they pick them up, they start reading the cards, they just start crying because they're so heartfelt and they're so special and they're just dog love. In many ways, that's what healed me from my journey with PTSD and the accident and everything. And I'm back to walking again, and I'm much better with PTSD. I've been working with therapists on that, but sometimes I just have to reach for my deck and pull a card and get a little love message from a doggo, and it's been incredibly healing for me.
I don't know what I believe, but if there is an afterlife, if there is another side where we get to see our pets and Trix is waiting for you on that rainbow bridge, what is the first thing that you will say to her?
Up, up. That's what I'd say.
Thanks for listening. Dead Pets is a Wild Media Industries production. It is written, hosted, and edited by me, Elise Wild. If you have a dead pet that you would like to share, please reach out at deadpetsofficial@gmail.com. Follow Dead Pets on TikTok and Instagram, and sign up for the Dead Pets newsletter at www.deadpetspodcast.com. And remember, until one has loved an animal, a part of one's soul remains unawakened. Anatole France.